Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another video. Insecure Season 5, Episode 4, Faulty, okay? Review. It is interesting why they called it faulty, because you would think it had something to do with the personalities, but there was a little theme in there. Anyway, so after last week's intense, really super intense episode, y'all remember I couldn't even do a proper review. I had to give a commentary. All right, so we back on doing some reviews, regular reviews of Insecure Season 5. So this one, it focuses more on Issa and Molly and, also Kelly. They never really have Tiffany in there. I'm still waiting for the big one on her. But anyway, right? So they went to a beach event sponsored by the Clips Barbershop. That's Nathan's barbershop. So they were having an event on the beach. And, it was pretty good. And, they start out with some little jokey jokes and everything. A big old dude putting some sunscreen on and all of that. And, it was interesting. So I guess they trying to be a little bit funnier this season. But anyway, the main event, Issa, Molly, and Kelly arrive, right? And, Molly and Kelly, they just checking out the guys there. And you could tell, let me focus first on Molly. Molly is on the hunt. She is on the hunt. And let me be clear, because I did a video a few weeks ago talking about women don't always need emotional attachments to have sex. There was no emotion in it. She wanted that cat satisfied. So, and they even had a joke, her and Kelly even had a joke, open for business. And did that little girl hump thing. You know how some women be doing on, that same sex thing sometimes. But, it was, you could see that she was on the hunt. She was definitely on the hunt. And so, they there and, Issa sees Nathan and his co-workers. And, Molly's checking out two of them. She's checking out two of them. And the two of them were checking her out. So, that was a theme in there. Now, it was interesting because, they played spades together. Real quick with spades. If it's a black event, if it's a black people getting together, cookout, something like that, somebody's in there playing spades. Let me tell y'all a story real quick about me. I used to fool people playing spades because, you know what? All the times I played cards, I never could shuffle properly. My partner always had to shuffle the cards for me, right? And that's cool. But then when I get in there, boom, I was that person who get 10 books and only had like maybe 2 spades in my hand. I can play the hell out of spades. So, but anyway, you know how it is. So, they playing spades together and, then there's a lot of other little stuff. But, as far as the Molly part of the storyline, it was interesting because throughout, she was checking out one of the guys, Johnny, because they asked about his shoe size and he said a size 14. So Molly was like, oh, yeah, okay. But then later on, like, even though the other guy, Arid, was Ari, something like that. I think he said Ari, something like that. The other guy, he was checking out too, but she was focused on Johnny at first until there was some talk, later on in the show about going to this Jason Derulo concert. And he was like, oh, no, well, I got to go home and let my cat out first. And then Molly was mad. He's like, he was more concerned about his cat, his real cat as opposed to her cat. And we know what cat she was talking about. So she switched over to Ari. I was like, man, that was just some cold-blooded stuff. Because even before then, like as they were walking in, like her, Issa and Kelly, she was complaining about her bubble date. You remember, because this takes place a week from that episode where they had that big concert, that thing with Crenshaw. And that's an important piece to all of this too, but I'll get to that. And she was talking about that Bumble date she had at the end. She said a great date, but the sex wasn't good. I was like, man. You know, Molly, just because y'all know how I do it on here, it's more about the characters, the archetypes and everything. You know, she's back to being old Molly. You know, I thought there had been a real change. No. She's back to on the hunt. You know, she's back to being that renegade. I was like, man, oh well. I was thinking she changed her hair and everything. She's gonna be a bit more serious. Maybe that'll come out later, but she was on that beat. She was definitely just on the hunt. In fact, there was a part where they were in an Uber ride together, and you know, her and Ari, and he had a Chinese tattoo that was basically said "good dick," and she was getting happy. So, you know, it's like, man. And then the main issue, the main show was Issa, because she's coming to this event with you know, sponsored by Nathan, and you know, it's a week since she cried in bed with him. She cried, and Nathan was kind of distant. Let's just be real, he was kind of distant. And she was actually concerned because one of Nathan's co-workers, Risha, was all on him, like it was like they were fucking, and she was like looking at him like there was a scene he had you know, he had knelt down, she had her foot on his lap, and he was just like straightening out his shoes, and she was like, you know, squeezing his shoulders and all of that. So she was really concerned about that. Now I'm gonna tell you what. That was a part of it. She's concerned about that. But then there was another part of the storyline related back to when she did that show, because she had got that deal with that water company and everything. And she saw a tweet. As she was walking in, she saw a tweet from Crenshaw, you know, calling her a sellout, calling her a fraud and stuff, you know, calling her fake. And I was just like, wow. And she was really concerned about that. And that was a theme throughout the episode, because she kept checking the tweets and everything, a little bit of comedy and everything. You know, I don't go into specifics as much, but more about how she was. So she had two things. She's concerned about Nathan and how they getting along, and whether he dealing with another woman or something, swearing all out they had sex. And, you know, she's worried about these tweets from this guy. And they showed a few of the tweets from people responding, and it was like, nah, why you being like this and everything? And she actually tweeted something back. She actually tweeted something back to him. And then he actually put that on blast. So that was a part of the thing. So that's we'll see how that storyline goes. But her main, you know, she had that to worry about, and then she thinking Nathan is dealing with Risha. And then, you know, it's an interesting part there. The party on the beach was actually cut short. The party on the beach was actually cut short because of an earthquake. So everybody, you know, Nathan said, okay, let's go to this bar here. You know, we'll pay for everything, right? And, you know, that was cool. And then it was interesting, you know, because you had an Uber driving Issa, Molly, Kelly, and the woman that Issa thought Nathan was boning, Risha, they all in the car together. Now it's interesting, Risha and Kelly actually clicked. They were talking about some spiritual stuff and all of that. And they were getting deep. And then, you know, in the car, Molly and Issa were texting each other back and forth. They were texting each other back and forth, and, you know, they were, you know, concerned about that thing with Crenshaw, and also what was up with Risha and everything. And they actually started texting because the Uber driver, he was talking on some conspiracy stuff. He was like, you know, the earthquake was the government and everything. They were like, what's he talking about? Then they started talking about the other stuff, and then Issa indicated she was like still concerned about Risha, and Molly just asked her straight up. She was like, hey, you and Nathan fucking? And she's like, oh no, that's my brother. You want to fuck him? And she was like, I was like, okay. So anyway, they end up going to the bar and everything, and they talking. Ari and Johnny competing with for Molly, and I told you how that ended up. But then there was an interesting part is Nathan and Issa were still kind of distant. Yeah, they were talking, but it wasn't quite there. But then interesting part happened at the bar. Nathan's cousin came in, Thomas, and his wife Velma. And Velma seemed real salty, and she was like saying little things about, Nathan abandoning something and everything. You could see there was some real tension there. Thomas seemed cool about it, though. And, it went on, while they were at the bar, they say there was a Jason Derulo concert. So they went there. They all went there and everything. And then, there was still kind of like the thing with, Issa and Nathan. But then they were talking more, like Nathan and Thomas ended up talking. And, Velma didn't go to the concert with them. But Thomas went at first, and, they couldn't get in. But Ari said he had a way to get in, like bring one other person. He brought in Molly with him, and then Molly said she'd go to the back door and get them in. Right, but then Molly did that, but then, Thomas, Nathan's cousin, didn't want to go. He was ready to go, and then, Nathan went up to him talking, and Thomas let him know that because what had happened was Nathan had been staying with them for a while, but then all of a sudden left or been kicked out, so to speak, And Velma took the heat for it, but then Nathan and Thomas talked, and Thomas said, nah, Velma took the heat, but that was more me. He was talking about how Nathan would disappear for days at a time or then come in real late, leave the door open. And Thomas said, look, I got kids. I couldn't really deal with that. Velma was willing to take the heat, and I should have stood up for that. And I was like, And that really hit Nathan hard. Right? And, when they, Molly was able to get that back door open, Nathan didn't want to go in. He was just jacked up over it. Issa saw what was up, and Nathan just went on. Issa went with him, just to talk. And then they end up, they just really talked. That's the first time. Like Nathan, he wanted to show that he had changed. But then he felt like, well, people still want to see him the same way. And then Issa, I keep saying Nisa. Issa, hey, maybe that's something coming. Nathan, Nisa, I don't know. But then Issa shared why she cried. It was just overwhelming. Everything was overwhelming. Even, just everything she was doing. She's worried. She's still worried about failure. I mean, the show's still called Insecure. She's still building. She's still building as an entrepreneur. She just had that very day she's supposed to be chilling, staying off social media. And, she see this guy that she helped, talking bad about her. So it was like she explained why and everything. And, they both said that they really wanted to be friends. They both wanted to be friends. So, they said it, then they ended up kissing, and then there was an earthquake at the same time, like a mild earthquake. And, that's kind of symbolic and everything. So I'm going to tell you what, honestly, as episodes go, it's all right. It was all right. You kind of watched it, and after last week's episode, it was just kind of, because I was just like, it was casual. It's like, it's interesting, the characters and everything. Okay, Nisa, I keep saying Nisa. Issa. There must be something there. Freudian slip, spirit saying, no, they're going to be together. I don't know. We don't know yet, but it was an interesting dynamic. But it was still kind of, compared to like previous episodes, it was still like, yeah, if I were to give stars, I'd be like, pedestrian, 5 stars out of 10. But it was still kind of good to see, okay, more about Nathan, because he's manic depressive, he's bipolar. you know, so he's having those issues, but he's trying to get better. And then, you know, Issa, she's still fighting through some stuff. So, you know, I guess that's cute. They came together at the end. Molly, I thought she was growing, but she's back to old Molly. She is back to old Molly. You know, she just want the cat satisfied. I thought she really wanted a relationship or something, but you know, she gonna drop. She all into one guy, but all because he said he just needed to let his cat out, which all she had to do was just go on with him. You know, she was like, wait a minute, hold up. You just selfish about what you need. You could have went home with him, chill, let the cat out, come back, boom. You all on him all night because of his size 14s, but then you switch up just like that. So that's an interesting character to keep an eye on. And, you know, Kelly is Kelly. Kelly is Kelly. And Risha, yeah, man. She has some nice breasts. But, yeah, it was like, one thing I will say, after last week's very intense episode, that episode probably set a bar for them. And I don't know if they see it yet. It set a bar. It's like, how you come back from that? You know, so this one, yeah, like I said, if out of 10 stars, I give it 5. It was like, you know, seriously, because I was like, So anyway, though, but that's everything going on in that one. So anyway, that's my review. I would hope next week. Well, I'm gonna tell you what. Here's a criticism I have of the show. They should stop trying to be a comedy. They really should, seriously, because I think that's kind of, they be trying to be funny. It's like this season. That's one thing, except for last week's episode. They trying to be funny. It's like they trying to be funny and trying to throw more comedy in. I'm like, you know. Just stop faking. It's just a drama, and like in real life, people do funny things, but just call it a drama, a half an hour drama. In fact, they probably could have did an hour with it easily, seriously. So anyway, that's my review. Get back with y'all next week on the Insecure Reviews. Talk to y'all. Peace and blessings.